Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm Natasha, and if this is your first time here, thank you for joining my channel. Please consider subscribing and hit that like button, as it helps the channel to grow and it helps YouTube to promote it to other people. Today I want to talk about how I got onto a board of directors in my 20s. This was not something I had planned. It actually came out of just being in a hospital, spending so much time, because I had a family member close to me who was sick very often, and was constantly having to go to the emergency for treatment. And then ultimately that led to me being there as well, because at a young age I would get I'd have to leave school or work wherever I was urgently and attend to my family member. As you know, taking care of an ill family member is, you have to make sacrifices, and basically when they need you, you gotta go. You gotta drop everything what you're doing and you gotta go and attend to their needs. And hence why I spent so much time in a hospital. So going through an emergency room, it would take hours and hours to see a doctor, and then if you're admitted, then you have to wait longer for a bed. So being in an emergency room, I would just walk around, go to Tim Hortons, grab a hospital magazine and read about hospital news. So because I was in a hospital so much and interacting with doctors and nurses, a lot of times these interactions were not favorable interactions. I saw a lot of things in hospitals that weren't right. Things that I figured, could use improvement. Just the way nurses would administer medication. They wouldn't always do it on time. They might even skip a dose. And, just communication, just up the ranks between nurses and doctors, orderlies, technicians, things, turnaround time for labs, turnaround time for blood work, x-rays. I saw a lot of gaps, and because of this, I used to write papers on policy development in school, specifically in the healthcare sector, because I had a passion for it. So actually, one day, I used to play a lot of sports. I used to do cross-country, track, basketball, those kind of stuff. And one of my teammates asked me if I wanted to go to the school board, and meet with the Minister of Education, who just wanted to ask us a few questions as students, about school issues. So I said sure. So she came to pick me up and drove me to the board, and we met with the Minister of Education. I was a bit nervous, but you know what? She was there with me, so kind of helped to alleviate some of the nerves. And the minister just started asking her some questions, how she felt about her school, her teachers, her grades, and whatever burning issues were happening at the time. And then she turned to me and asked me a few questions, and I was like, kind of gave one-word answers. But eventually I kind of warmed up to her because she looked pretty serious. So keeping in mind, I'm very good at networking and keeping in touch with people. So getting back to the hospital story, I somehow ran into her again somewhere along the line, and I knew that the hospital was looking for new board members at the time, and I wanted to apply, pretty much out of my disgust for what I saw in the hospital. So I got my resume together, and I actually bumped into her at Union Station. It is a crowded station, but for some reason I saw her walking by, and I hailed her up and I said, hey, remember me? And I knew she was a board member, an existing board member of that hospital. So I told her that I was interested in applying. So she said, send my resume along to her and she'll forward it onto the board. So, went home, got my stuff together and sent it to her, emailed it to her, and she sent it off. And one day I got an email saying, Natasha, thank you for your interest in the board of directors. We'd like you to come in for an interview. So I was like, cool, okay. I don't know what to expect here. This is new territory. I've never been on a board of directors. But you know what? I got my resume together. I had a lot of hospital clippings that I kept, just issues that were important to me. So I brought those along with me to the interview. And so basically, the day of the interview, I showed up, found my way through the hospital corridors into this boardroom, and there were two males there, and they welcomed me in. And I have a child's face, so I think they realized that I was young, and just told me a bit about the hospital and what the process is and what it's like being on the board. They have different committees and subcommittees, so they did ask me, like, what would I be interested in. They didn't really tell me where I would be. I guess they wanted to interview me to gauge my interests, whatever qualifications I had at the time, where my mindset was, and what I thought I could offer. So I did share with them the hospital clippings that I had, and I think they were also interested in how I found my way there in terms of getting my resume to them. So I did tell them, but I didn't tell them everything. I did tell them at the time I was a political science student, and I do care about policy development, especially in hospitals. It is important to me because policy sets the standard for operations. So I reiterated that, and I was nervous. I'll admit I was nervous, but somehow I managed to contain my nerves and get my message out. It took about, I would say, 45 minutes or so, and then it was done. And they were very nice gentlemen. They were also like active in their careers, and I think one of them was on the verge of retirement, but the other one was in real estate, and he was pretty, active in his career. So it wasn't too structured or anything like that. And I guess they didn't really know how to deal with me. They didn't really put me through the ringer, so to speak. I think they already kind of knew where I could be, and that came out later on. So I left the interview, went home, didn't really tell anybody too much about it. I think I maybe told one other person, and they were like, wow, like, I've been trying to get on the board of directors like for years. How did you manage it? And I just said, I just applied. So surprisingly, 2 weeks later, I got an email saying, congratulations, welcome to the board of directors of this hospital. We'd like to welcome you to the communications committee, and your first meeting is on such and such a date. So we met about once a month for about 2 hours, and we basically talked about, hospital issues and the community itself and how we engage with the community, the types of demographics we deal with in the hospital. And at first, the first couple of meetings, I was totally quiet. I didn't say a word. Keeping in mind I was surrounded by professionals, and I just wanted to see what they had to say, kind of observe the room, the personalities, the types of things they were bringing forward, and to kind of, I was an observer. I was a silent observer because I just wanted to see how all this works. And later on in further meetings, then I would, think of things to say, and sometimes I would just send an email after the meeting to the person who led the meeting because, I didn't feel too comfortable at times bringing it up, and I didn't know if it was relevant. But it's been interesting. I mean, it was a good experience. It lasted for a year, and I did make some connections there as well. They're all pretty much on my LinkedIn. And it's good to have, like, networking will help you throughout your life, no matter where you go. And again, like, years later, you don't know how you can, sort of connect with that person or what it means to connect with that person. They could be a reference for you later on, or you might meet them later in life in another job or maybe another committee or wherever. So it's always good to keep your contacts, whether it's on LinkedIn or, business cards or in your phone, what have you. But it's good to have. And honestly, a lot of those people were well established in their career. And I remember someone saying, hey, Natasha, you should forward your resume to this person. She works in government. She's a manager. Maybe she could get you a job. I didn't really believe it, what he said, because I'm a big believer of, finding your own way, creating your own path, not really relying on referrals. I mean, I did send my resume. She did acknowledge it. Great. Did anything happen? No. I wasn't expecting anything to happen. But like I said, you never know when you're going to cross paths with someone again. So it's good to just keep your networks open, so to speak. So I just wanted to share that story with you guys because it could be another avenue for you to pursue if you're not so much into the daily grind of working 9 to 5 and you want to try something a bit different, board of directors opportunities are out there. If you look on Charity Village or if you look on LinkedIn, you can see a lot of volunteer opportunities. Some of these are paid and some of these are unpaid. So if that's important to you, you want to apply to the right position. But it is a good experience and you meet a lot of people. You learn a lot about policy development, fundraising, communications, and a lot of other different things. So check it out. It could be a good avenue for you. So thanks for joining me today. If you haven't subscribed, please do smash that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you soon. Here's to living a resource-rich lifestyle. Ciao.